says, then you know you're ready to start. Isn't it amazing? It comes out of nowhere. Congratulations to our female voice for being our first guest. My name is Mike Blinder. I am the publisher of ENP Magazine. We are honored to have a very large audience joining us today for a very interesting topic. First of all, a big thank you to our supporter of our mission here at ENP, and that is one of our marketing partners, BLOX Digital, who is sponsoring this webinar and helped us put together the content you're about to get. Mind you, we are recording this. Many who register will have access to the recording. All of you who registered will get a link to this webinar's recording, landing page, assets, including a free white paper to download from BLOX Digital sometime later today. Isn't AI amazing? And some quick housekeeping. We are obviously on a platform called Zoom, and there are many options at the bottom to try to interact with us. If you raise your hand, we will ignore it, because to this day, I don't know what that means and what to do, but feel free to raise it if you want to. Beyond that, you got a Q&A in there, but let's go to chat. Now, what I love about chat is that we can all interact in the background of this dialogue, except Zoom defaults the chat to only panelists when you go to it. I'd rather have you as the audience and the panelists as well pull that push down one more to everyone. That way, if you have a question for a panelist, others in the audience may be able to address it. If you think we're saying something stupid, let us know. We'll address it as well. Now it's time to bring in our guest for this webinar. First of all, I'd officially like to welcome, I guess, a new friend to ENP. Kyle, congratulations on Align Simple, an amazing company. Thank you for your support of me. I actually reached out to you for some consulting, and you're just a brilliant guy, but your background goes beyond being the founder of Align Simple. You had years as chief of, can I say, top nerd at Lee? Is that a good title for you, sir?
Oh no, they have a lot of good people over there. No, I have a 2 decade career that started in broadcast in the newsrooms and then shifted over to launch the first set of websites for the CBS affiliates in the state. And then just really loved data because it was actionable and we could do a lot with it. So I'm glad to be a part of this call with BLOX and Reilly and our relationship as well, Mike.
It's a real pleasure to have you on board. Next, Reilly Kneedler. Reilly, you've been with Wick Communications a darn long time. But 5, 6 years now as chief of staff. Is that correct?
Been with the company about 7 and chief of staff for about 4. So
You work for one of my favorite human beings in the world, but damn it, I think I have shoes that are older than Francis Wick.
hmm
Francis is a huge friend of ENP, also a close friend of ours, but your scope is wide. And I don't know if you remember, Reilly, but you were one of my customers as a digital media trainer and consultant, and you had the unmitigated gall to send me to Alaska in February, up to Wasilia. Do you still have that market up there?
we do, yes, and we give our toughest challenges to our strongest soldiers, and you were one of them, Mike. So
Well, you're going to be our case study that talks about how you're applying these analytics across your markets and how you're using them to build audience and monetize. And a big thank you to a friend of ENP, supporter of ENP, and a brilliant lady, Bridget Sibthorp-Moecker. Do I say that correctly, Bridget? Or is it
Yes,
Moecker? Moecker.
Mocher, but hey, we'll take either.
All
There's a lot
right.
of
You got a
syllables
hyphen
there.
in your name, which means it's longer, harder to put in that damn PowerPoint.
It
But
is.
Bridget, you're chief of audience at BLOX Digital. What does that entail? What do you do?
Well, I'm really focused on helping people make money through subscriptions primarily, but the focus is how do we monetize that audience? Yeah,
And full disclosure, you were at Lee prior to moving over to Blocks. Am I correct?
that's right. I can vouch for the nerd thing about Kyle. Yeah.
I guess you were part of it. All right, so we're excited to have our panelists together. We want everyone to stick around and once again ask your questions. Put any thoughts you may have. If we're not covering a topic, by all means, please bring it up to us. So let's, if I may, start with Kyle. Kyle, what the heck do you do? And what is your expertise when it comes to this myth of metrics and how, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I find Google Analytics exceptionally hard to work with. And you reached out to me, and may I show it? Do you mind if I show? I have some screen snaps here. Am I allowed, Kyle, to show the work you did for me?
Uh, it's your data. If you want to put it out there, that's up
I
to
don't know.
you.
I'm kind of proud of it. Did you think it was bad data? This is my Google Analytics that I recently just took a snap of, but you were able to break it down in a much more, how should I say, user-friendly, easy to understand, simple formula for me. That actually helps me understand more what my audience is. So are you like what I like to call you just like a simplification guy? What is your expertise when it comes to understanding data and helping old men like me who just trying to get a business going, understand it and use it to my best ability to build audience and build revenue, sir?
Sure. So data nerds like data, but how does that actually drive business? So that's where we work with owners, publishers on, hey, there's a lot of numbers you have to look at as an owner operator. What are the ones that allow you to make decisions, allow your staff to make decisions where you know, hey, this means this next thing for my business. So yeah, we try to really go through and try to simplify analytics using a variety of tools, including a few that BLOX has provided, and align that with your business objectives. And we'll talk a little bit more on that call when we're talking about choosing the right metrics. It's really, we got to start with what are your business objectives every year.
Well, one of the things I like to do is meet expectations. Title of this event is Your Analytics Are Lying. And that becomes from the prep I did, understanding the information, the new tools, which we'll get to in blocks because they're going to definitely want to show off the really cool stuff they're doing. Let me stay with you. What is the biggest lie that you think publishers tell themselves about their metrics that you need to fix sometimes, if I may?
That they use their analytics at all. They look at them, but they're not really using them. And usually when I'm jumping on a call or talking to someone, if they talk about traffic, is usually a signal of there is a bit of education and data maturity that needs to happen. When they talk about page views, well, these correlate with revenue and subscription potential, but it usually isn't one-to-one. And really, it's some basic math stuff where they'll try to go through and pick a thing like pages per user. And they have a big traffic month with a bunch of viral traffic. That ratio shrinks down. And then now there's a debate in the management team on, hey, are we hitting expectations? Not seeing how all these numbers relate. And that's where you really got to simplify instead of trying to look at a lot of KPIs.
So do me a favor, list those KPIs again so we can take some notes. In order, in your humble opinion, of importance, just to make sure everybody, even if they don't do any interaction after this, the next time they look at their analytics, what are those key performance indicators you want to get under your belt to be a publisher that truly is using that data properly?
Total number of people interacting with your brand. This could be across social and everything, like brand loyalty, especially in the new markets. They don't necessarily have to come to your website. So what is the total reach you have? And this is could be a big gray number. How many users? So that's your total audience potential. And then how frequent are they visiting? From there, that's where you really need to dig down into who came to your website once and who are those people that are highly engaged, high retention subscribers.
Kind of like separating the wheat from the chaff, if I may use that term.
A little bit. And then the other one that keeps coming up is time on site. And really, it is your content built for that? Is that the objective you want? And again, that varies greatly if you're in a subscription model or if you're a broadcaster and what type of engagement you want on Roku versus your website.
All right, let's swing it over to Bridget now, our sponsor and the representative of the company that has got a really cool tool, BLOX NXT.
That's right.
Very exciting stuff, Bridget. You're going to be showing it off at conferences. We're honored to be one of the first places where you announced it. And that's what this whole thing is building up to. So why don't you take it away? And what are the key audience signals that publishers should be tracking? And what does this BLOX NXT do to drive subscriptions, not just page views, loyalty, audience in general, and eventually, God forbid, some top line revenue? Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm really focused on the subscription and conversion angle of that. So I agree with everything Kyle said. I'm going to hone in a little bit deeper though for subscriptions and see, here's one of the ways that Google Analytics may be steering you wrong. So page views are surface level, right? And just like Kyle said, traffic, if people are talking about that in a subscription model, you're not necessarily honing in on the right thing. So let me show what we're building in BLOX next. So here we have a picture of an example of our dashboard. Now we take analytics very seriously, and we want to help bring all of these analytics together in one place. This is something we're working toward. So BLOX Next is our brand new CMS. It's the evolution of the BLOX that 2,000 partners use across the US and Canada. So a couple of the things we want to focus on audience signals to drive subscriptions are meter stop rate and overall paid stop conversion rate. So the reason these are important is it's not just about stops and starts. It's how are people interacting with your site? Meter stop rate is of all the people that see your offers, whether you have a paywall or whether you're a nonprofit donation model, of all those people seeing your offers, what's that percentage to your overall traffic? And then that conversion rate is of those people that saw your offers, how many actually made a purchase? So it's really about looking at that entire funnel and at least looking at those top level metrics to see how are people interacting with it. So whether you're a very large newspaper, a very small one, whether you're part of a group or an individual publication, these are percentages that are relevant to you that can help gauge how effective your strategy is.
Can I ask you a
So,
question?
yeah.
Am I looking at
Yeah.
real-time data? Did you make these numbers up? Is this an actual publication of some kind?
So I'm not sharing one of our publishers' sites here. This is actually an example dashboard, so we can show you numbers and not show off somebody else's.
Got it.
But this gives you just a glimpse of all of this stuff that we bring together for you.
I was just going to ask it, does
Yeah.
that number in the 30s, is that a good number or a bad number, in your opinion? 31.8% meter stop rate.
So it depends on your strategy, right? If you like to lock your content down and you have more of a hard paywall type of strategy, then 30-40% may be your number. Now that's of course going to change your conversion rate because they have a relationship there. But if your strategy is maybe you don't have a paywall at all, or
Right,
maybe
because
you have
we
a
had
very
someone,
low,
Paul asked that. He said, I'm
yeah,
nonprofit.
yeah.
I want donations. Go ahead.
Right, right, absolutely. So in that case, if that's your strategy, that's going to be zero and that's okay. But you still want to watch that, that conversion rate and your conversion numbers.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah.
And again, Paul Fix, thank you for chatting to
Thank you.
everyone. The chat room is open. Ask questions. We'll do our best to get them answered, or maybe someone from BLOX who can get in there and help as well. Go ahead, keep going,
Absolutely.
Bridget.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, there's nothing wrong with Google Analytics. It's not bad. But what we're trying to do here with BLOX Next is bring GA data with BLOX data all together in one place. You can get it there, but, unless you have somebody smart like Kyle to put these things together for you, you got to do it kind of by hand. So we want to really help you leapfrog and get this data right in front of you.
All right, so how do your BLOX clients rethink these engagement funnels now? I mean, are you watching them evolve and change and become much more savvy at using these numbers to grow their audience and grow their revenue?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just say as an aside, one of my favorite things is being able at BLOX to look at an aggregate of all of our publishers with a diverse set of sizes, of groups, of not a diverse set of strategies, and see how their performance is increasing with the changes that we make. But with BLOX Next, what we're really trying to do with Audience Plus and BLOX Next is help you shift from kind of a one size fits all kind of a funnel to more dynamic, personalized journeys. So I know in your notes for the show, Mike, you were talking about casual readers and loyal readers. I mean,
Mhm.
they behave differently. You know, you have a different relationship with them. They have a different relationship with your brand. And so I don't think it makes sense, you know, to treat everybody the same way. You know, if you're focused on growing that engagement, then you want to give more free views, or you want to give them a different message, you know, when you do prompt them.
Can you share a specific success maybe? Is there a client that actually switched their analytics approach and then saw a major subscription lift through using these numbers properly?
Yeah, actually, let me share my screen again because I want to show you guys something. So we had a partner that had been using Audience Plus for quite a while, and they started using BLOX next. And they noticed this little graph here, this conversions by access rule. This means the bucket somebody was in when they made that decision to purchase. Even if you have a hard paywall, you can still bucketize people to personalize that message and offer to them. Well, they noticed that one of these sections here said formers, and it was a much bigger section than they thought it would be. Now, you know, in the circulation world, we've talked about formers for decades. You know, formers are those people that have paid you before, maybe you can get them back. We used to do it with mailers, and people still do it with emails, but now we can do it on site dynamically. So they realized there's a big bucket here, and they were getting the same low intro offer as all the new folks. So they switched that to a win back offer that had a you know, a reasonable monthly amount, and they immediately saw a revenue lift because they weren't having to wait, you know, that whole introductory period to get that revenue. So that's just one way of like showing these insights can really help you produce revenue results.
Let me swing it over, if I may, and this is to Reilly here, because Reilly, you've been patiently waiting there in the background, maybe humming to yourself or checking your email. But you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you are on Blocks Next, right? You made the shift early. Were you like the petri dish here, and and are you looking at all of your markets through this dashboard? Because I've worked in some of your markets, and some of them are small. And you've got a
Yeah.
publisher and maybe five people in some of these, and that's good. I mean, you are super serving your communities. I know you have a commitment to true journalism. I mean, that comes straight out of the old, Francis Wick playbook. Tell good stories. You have an amazing management team and a commitment to your markets. But how immersed are you in this? Is this your job? Are you looking at these numbers? Are you feeding them down to the markets? Give me an idea of the real world ways this is benefiting with communications, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, so we've been a blocked customer for more than a decade in many markets, and yeah, I don't know what rank we were in Bridget's favorites, but we were early enough, close enough to the top to get into the beta program when Next was first being developed, which was great. So yeah, we've been kind of rolling it out to our markets gradually, kind of group by group here. And so, yeah, they've found a lot of success with it. I think, the analytics being just embedded where people are doing work is a huge benefit. So back to Kyle's point about are people even looking at analytics? One way to get them to do it is have it be where they're actually working every single day, and it's not like a bookmark on a Chrome tab that they have to remember to go to, or an email that gets generated that they maybe read once a week. It's right where they're creating stories and publishing. So that's in and of itself a great lift. In terms of my role, to answer your other question, before I was chief of staff, I was actually the digital audience editor for Wick. So this was literally my job day in and day out, was building analytics dashboards and convincing editors and reporters why they should pay attention to analytics, and then why no, the page view doesn't matter as much as you think it does. And then why it's okay if your story generates subscriptions. That's actually a good thing. And you should know what that number is. And here's why it ties back to you being successful. And then we'd reach a happy stasis where they would say, then they would come to me and say, okay, how did that story do that I published yesterday? Because I thought that was going to be a good one. And was it a good one? So most people will get there, which is exciting.
All right, so I got to stay on this topic. I'm sorry, I'm going
Yeah.
off notes here, but The age-old question, Reilly, and you and I know Francis, and I know your company. I spent 10 years consulting them and being in all those markets back in my good old days. When I went into hotel rooms, coincidentally, your bedroom looks a lot like a hotel room there, Reilly. I just wanted to let you know. Is that just how you
Yeah.
design it so you feel comfortable, or are you actually in a hotel right now?
I am actually in a hotel right now, believe it or not. Yes, I'm in beautiful Las Vegas today,
There you
traveling back from one of our markets. So,
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, how do you feel about the concept of that battle in newsrooms? I mean, I had Marty Barron on this program with that same battle when he was at the Washington Post. Are the metrics how you determine the news you cover, or do you cover the news first and learn from the metrics? And is there a little gray area in between? Because I know that your company believes in journalism first. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
yeah.
Bottom line all the way. But you got your first is to serve the community. So what are your philosophies at Wick on that, if I may ask?
Yeah, I think so. I think about this a couple ways. One, like if I'm having that conversation with a journalist, I'll start by just asking about their motivators for being in journalism and what their mission is as an organization. And it usually ends up with something like serving the public, right? Like that's why most of us got in, is to do good and serve the public. And I usually say something like, well, what if the public could tell you how they want to be served? And they're doing that most directly every day through analytics. Like they're telling you directly and indirectly, like the type of content and the ways they want to be served. And it doesn't mean that we are only going to look at topics by page views or by engagement and prioritize those. Then I move to my second analogy, which is the food pyramid, right? So, there's always going to be some share of the food pyramid at the top that is public service, public safety, breaking news, elections, government fraud and abuse, budgets, the real pure capital J journalism that may or may not get the page views, but is important. Like that, like I always say, put that on an island. We're going to do that, even if it gets 0 views, even if it gets 1 million views, put that on an island. What about the other 80, 70, 50, 40%? Like, how are you spending your time with the rest of that? And should you consider listening to the people you're trying to serve and doing what's going to make them not only feel happy and pleased, but develop and reinforce the community that they want to see built?
Kyle, same question. Bridget, I'll get to you in a moment, but I'm curious. Kyle, you must hit that all the time. Battles of when I see battles, I hate to use the term battles, but disagreements about the priority of telling people the news they want to hear and telling the people the news they need to hear, which I've been hearing for the last 40 years. I saw Fred Friendly battle that at an NAB back in 1986. And that, so where's your head on that when you get into those discussions, Kyle?
Uh, if you don't have targets and goals, there can be conflict throughout the organization, especially when we look at different revenue streams, specifically for the newsroom. If it's important, it should be interesting. There's a way to sell that story to your audience. So when you go into it, what is that expectation of? We're doing an investigative journalism piece. We're going to take X number of labor hours. We're going to get into numbers here. We're putting X number of labor hours into the news gathering. So what does that look like for additional promotion? How many subscriptions do we expect to get? Really kind of setting those expectations there. So if it's important, it should be interesting. And I'll leave you with this one for this question. We get the question usually when we first walk into a market, like, what's converting what stories are converting our readers? I was like, well, you're already looking at what your newsroom selected to write in your community. Like it's already filtered and vetted. That's why Reilly's approach is really good of listening to your audience. What are the things that they're directing you to cover? So you've got that experimentation instead of just doubling down on decisions maybe your newsroom made 3 years ago, 2 years ago that led to conversions, and you just keep getting narrower and narrower in that space.
Bridget, I'm staying on this topic, and if you want to tell Aaron that to demand an extra page in the magazine, I'll do that. Because, okay, Kyle, so sometimes this is what I saw. Sometimes the simple fix is not changing the newsroom strategy. By the way, full disclosure, Kyle is, yes, a national consultant, international consultant when it comes to these numbers, but he also works with BLOX Digital and provides consulting to their customers. So it's a perfect guy to ask this to. But isn't Kyle sometimes the fix not the news you're covering, but sometimes just looking at the tags, the subject line, the lead, and making sure they're more friendly for engagement? Yes, no? Or am I being too simple and stupid there, Kyle?
No, the Perry White, like, sell me the headline, like that is the piece you're going to see. And Blocks has great tools to kind of customize that depending on where people see it. But universally, they're going to see a line of text and like, this is the most interesting thing on the page, whether it's an email, a Google search, even your own homepage. How do you make that like, this is important and interesting?
Without changing the
So,
focus of the newsroom, still do the enterprise journalism, but then work,
oh,
right.
Absolutely.
Reilly, you're nodding your head on that puppy, or do you agree with what we were just discussing?
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you're distributing content, I mean, you may have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 more people see your headline than read the story.
Yeah.
Like truly. So it's you got to be associating that time appropriately.
All right, so let's go back to Bridget there now. I'm a small to mid-sized publisher, massive limited bandwidth. I do not have a general manager in Reilly that's going to do all this and disseminate it to me. I'm running a very lean operation, kind of like EMP. What one or two things can I stop tracking now, and what should I replace it with today? Again, even if I'm not moving to blocks, I'm going to pick your brain on those two things. What do I take out? What do I put in? Go ahead, Bridget.
Yeah. Well, I do want to make one comment though, back, if you don't mind, back on what we were
Go
just
ahead,
talking about, is
please.
that, kind of like Kyle alluded to it at Blocks being a CMS that are bundled with the subscription system, our objective is exactly to give you those tools to be more efficient. We trust the newsrooms to do what they need to do. We want to help you fund that business and grow that business. So that's a big part of Blocks Next. But as far as, what are those things to track? So I want to just like think a little deeper for a second. So things like stops and starts that we've been tracking in circulation forever, those are very important, right? But they don't tell you, how you got there. That just tells you the result. So that's back to when I was showing you those metrics for meter stop rate and conversion rate. I think it's really important to focus on a goal and then look at those numbers to see what's happening with that user behavior. If you're, let's say that your starts aren't where they want you to be, when you look at that meter stop rate and conversion rate, you could see, oh, that's going down. And that gives you an indicator to say, like, let's follow this thought, let's follow this goal and see what's going on. For example, if your purchase process is really clunky, if it's difficult, if you link people off to a different page, all of those things are going to affect your conversion rate. And you work so hard to get those people to that place, whether you have a paywall or, more of a landing page, nonprofit donation strategy. You don't want to lose them right at that moment where they already are ready to give you their money. Same thing with revenue. If your revenue is not where you want it to be, look at your churn. So that's some of the things that we put in those dashboards just to try to help you to provide that context.
And what I love about it is it's just easy to see and understand. I think Google just makes it like you gotta be a nerd, and you gotta like watch 30 videos on YouTube before you even understand what you're looking at. And
That's
that's
right.
fine. I mean, and no one wants to admit that, but the truth is it's simple to understand. All right, so let's move on. Let's turn data into action. Let's build some loyalty. Kyle, excuse me, Lyle, Kyle, what role does habit formation play in your data models? How can publishers measure loyalty, in your opinion? I mean, real loyalty in a
mhm.
meaningful way. So take it away, sir.
Sure. Habit is the foundation of a sustainable audience. Um, we look at default, just like cold starts to retention of the user and putting them into cohorts over time to kind of see what is their likelihood to churn. You might hear this as like lifetime value. One of the ones that we really like, which stop me if I'm getting too nerdy, is more of like a recency frequency value, where when did they last come to this site? How frequent are they coming to the site? And what's the value of that interaction? So are they spending time reading? Are they just clicking around looking at headlines? But hey, if they're looking at a couple different indexes and they're just reading the headlines, there's value in that outside of signing up for an email and all these. So those three things, recency, frequency, and then putting a number, and this might be a gut thing, on the value of those interactions you want your users to do, really can be critical to say, yeah, we are building loyalty.
All right, Reilly, how do you convert these smarter insights into newsroom actions or marketing actions? Give us an idea of your KPIs. I mean, you personally, what do you like to see at the end of the day done through using tools like this that makes you know you move the needle a bit? And maybe your boss is saying, good job, gives you that raise and extra week vacation.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, for us, I mean, we're obviously a subscription model, so you know, the dollars and cents are a big factor in that. Um, but I would say, a lot of our action comes from taking marketing on the content as we're seeing it be successful. So we do a lot of, boosting on social individual stories or promoting specific newsletters a specific way because they're topical and tied to something that would either be seasonal or that we've seen increasing growth with. So we do a lot of off-platform marketing. We've also been doing some, even just recently, on search engines like Bing and Yahoo, because interestingly, we're seeing kind of a growth in engagement and a relatively high conversion rate relative to Google or some of the other kind of number one seed players in some of these channels. So, which is kind of an interesting dynamic in and of itself that we're still sort of unwrapping there. But yeah, so we're constantly looking at our conversion and our subscription dashboards in order to figure out the marketing angles there. In terms of content, I mean, it really comes down to just getting that data in front of editors and reporters frequently and discussing it. Because, like you said, Mike, I mean, if you're not living and breathing this every day, you're going to see a page of data, a wall of numbers, and go, what am I even doing here? So I find it's really helpful to talk through that with people to kind of help guide them through the data. And not only does it help them understand it, but you're going to end up with fewer misconceptions about what to do about it. So again, the classic example, I had an editor a few months ago who tried to put a bigger emphasis on breaking news. We're going to do it faster. We're going to get it out there more thoroughly, everywhere, every time. And his average pages per user, Kyle made this point earlier, dropped down. And if he's looking at that in a silo of just that one metric, he would say, well, this isn't worth it. We're going the wrong way. When in reality, he just has more new users at the top of this funnel to be able to convert later on. So you need to be working every level there.
That's exactly what we see. And there's nothing wrong with building the funnel first and then figuring out that's a good problem to have. Don't you agree? I mean, that's a great
100%.
problem. It really, really is. So let's swing it back to Bridget. By the way, again, our audience is being quiet. We're not losing a lot of you. So either we're doing great or you're sleeping. But if you have any questions, anything we're not covering, anything you think these guys are saying wrong, please get into chat and please, say it out loud, and we'll do everything we can to make the time you've invested here as tailored as we can. All right, Bridget. So back to selling blocks. I don't mean selling, but go ahead. How does BLOX translate these new data models into these results, like subscription retention or increased engagement, which turns into obviously more top line revenue and a happier audience, right?
Right, absolutely. So, the formers was one example, having the insight that you can turn into action and really What we want to do is provide you with the tools to make your data actionable. So it's more than just observing it, right? So I'm going to show you guys something that I think is really, really interesting. This is, I think, everybody's favorite thing about BLOX Next is we have this new consolidated contacts view and a single customer view. So what you're looking at is Marty McFly's single customer view. Now, what this does is pull all of the data we have together in one place. So especially if you're in customer service or in audience, then you could see everything we have about this person together. Now, how this helps you is, oh, you know that he is engaged and likely to churn. This is one of our AI-powered audiences. So there's both the audience plus targeting and being able to personalize those journeys. And this is the opposite end of that is being able to see where these people are. We also have the history of their subscriptions. We automatically calculate the lifetime value for you. And then we have all of this information about activity stream. So at the end of the day, this is really about efficiency too. In time is money, right? So by making this data available in one place, we are helping you to be more efficient, save time. And it's not, as much jumping between tabs or platforms. It's just trying to make it easy and have this all together.
Amazing. I, and it's easy to understand. This is really, really cool. Got some
Thank you.
questions here, and I'm going to let it go to the group. So I don't know. This is a good question. Is this tool replacing piano, or is it go in tandem with it? Kyle, can I ask you that? You know where I'm going with this. Do you really need multiple data tools now if you're using this tool?
I'd like to hand it off to Bridget after this. What I see is people buy a lot of tech and SaaS and think it just operates, where they still need someone to sit on it, be a platform manager, making sure they're not buying duplicate things, that they're the same they might have different features, but how it actually aids your business is the same. A lot of SaaS tools integrate with each other, and that's where we start to get this um, rat king mess that a lot of publishers find themselves in, where they have a website, they have a different system for print circ, a different system for digital circ, and maybe something else to run the paywall. So really, I think everybody should look at their tech stack around subscriptions and going, is this optimized so we have the best experience for our users and we get the highest number of conversions, or did we just make everything too complicated?
Bridget, he Vanna Whited you. He flipped the letter. It's your next. So,
Yeah, thank you.
all
Thank
right.
you. That's amazing. So I mean, what we're trying to do with BLOX is be your all-in-one solution and make things simple and easy for you. Give you those tools to not only build great content and promote that great content, but also monetize it. So we do a lot of the same things that Piano does. We do a lot of the things that some of the data providers do. But again, we're trying to put this all in one place. And because the subscription platform is part of the CMS, that allows us to automatically be able to feed a lot of this data to you. Otherwise, you need to stitch these things together, and that can be tough.
We got a number of nonprofits on this that registered, as you likely saw, Bridget. I mean, a good deal. Does this apply? Okay, then this is a question from Pam. Do these metrics just focus on subs, or can you focus them as well on getting that dollar in through? Okay, Kyle, you're just going nuts. So, Kyle, back to you. Reilly, hang on, I got a question for you in a second. Go ahead, Kyle.
Uh, if there's an exchange of value, it's the same thing. You want people to support your journalism, regardless of what type of organization you're in. So very fundamentally, it's the same. Where I see nonprofits get a little more nervous is around a paywall strategy, because they say the site is free, but you're giving it away for free, but you still want people to pay for it. So just the paywall strategy is just one way to get people towards a purchase decision.
Bridget, you have a number of nonprofits, right, using blocks, correct? I see that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And membership models too. Yep.
and so again, these, just like Kyle said, these numbers can help you down that road, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so Riley, I got a question that might be in your book. I just know your markets, and some of them. Hey, Wasilla is where Sarah Palin resides, right? I mean, so here's a question from William: do a large percentage of stops simply disagree with the politics? Do you sometimes see stops coming through anger in a very polarized world? I mean, that's a good question. And Riley, and what's your position at Wick on that?
I think first I would say, I mean, it's obviously always hard to know people's true motivators, right? And a lot of the times people will tell you one thing, but their actions may be different, and the motivator that got them to either telling you or making that action could be different as well. But so we track our stop reasons for all stops. You fall into to stop your subscription, we're going to track it in blocks so that we can see month to month where that's trending. And a surprising few number are directly calling out sort of the editorial, either quantity or quality or slant. It's usually has to do more with value. And that could be, I can't afford this subscription anymore, or I don't see the value in continuing to subscribe, which gets back to, it's kind of you're sort of sifting through the tea leaves here to figure out what the true motivators are. Um, but I think analytics will again help tell you that story, because if you can look at your stopped subscribers as a group in your analytics and go back and look at their reading history, you'll see those zombie subscribers, right? The people who have stopped reading for 6 months and then canceled. So we're usually trying to move that conversation further up the chain, less analyzing why people are stopping, but more why active paying subscribers are not reading specific content or anything at all, and how we can take action there to get them back on board.
Once again, we're getting near the end of our journey, only about 15 minutes left. Chat room's open. Keep asking those questions. We'll do our best to respond to them either directly or right here on this forum. I'm going to ask the same question to all three of you, and we're going to start back with Bridget. If there's one assumption about your audience or your data you think publishers must challenge today, just one, what's the first one that comes to mind, Bridget?
I think the biggest assumption is that the data you're looking at is the whole story. I mean, we have some publishers that will focus in on one metric and one metric only, and then the rest of the context is lost. And then we have some publishers that are focused on so many finite metrics that they kind of lose the forest for the trees. I think that's especially tough when you have multiple different platforms stitched together. But at the end of the day, we want to help you unify the data across all those platforms, across your content, across your subscriptions. And we want to help your internal teams be more efficient. So
Same question for you, Riley. If there was one assumption you think is wrong that people make about their data, what is it? What is it?
Um, I think, going back to the conversation around how newsrooms use data, I think, and I'm speaking as a journalist who practiced for many years, everyone. So, don't ride in the streets here, but is reporters and editors assuming they know how to best cover their community without taking feedback from the community, either through analytics, through survey work, through town halls, which is again just data collected in person, right? Is assuming that we know best. A great example is, how often do we, in editorial meetings say, well, we covered that story last year. We did the parade story last year. We wrote about this woman who, is running a bakery for 6 years. We did that. We did that. We did that. That assumes that everybody reads every story that you publish in your community. And that's just, we all know not the case, right? So I think it's got to be a two-way feedback loop. Really know what to do.
We're back to that Fred Friendly conversation. Do you tell people
Yeah.
the news you need to know? Do you tell people the news they want to know? And is there a place in between? And by the way, if I may say this, enterprise journalism costs money, and sometimes you don't get anywhere from it. Where if you go with the quick hit, you can do more of it, build audience, but are you truly doing your job, which is being that final check on power? That's not the topic you're paying for, Bridget. I'm sorry, I keep going into this ethereal.
That's okay.
It's okay. Kyle, same question. If there's one assumption about audience that publishers are making that you think they should stop assuming, what is it, sir?
I'll do two and disagree, but try not to be disagreeable with you, Mike. That investigative journalism, that stuff that really fulfills our social mission does have a business application. It is us coming in with the assumption that it's okay that this story isn't that well viewed. It's okay that we did it and we can check that box instead of looking at those investigative stories and then measuring not just page views, users, subscribers, but what was the social impact of this. To say a success metric that our newsroom might be looking at is how much of our reporting led to legislation, changes in police policy. These are things that we could measure to say we made an impact by providing journalism to our communities. And I think that part gets lost unless you're a nonprofit. We talked about nonprofits. They're doing impact statements. If you're for-profit newsroom, part of a large corporation, if you went to your newsroom at the end of the year and like, hey, here's our impact statement. This is how many people read our stuff. This is how many people thought it was worth $1. And here's how it made an impact on our community. I think that'd be a big thing. One of the things that Bridget said, for my second point here, you don't really know the whole story because information is still siloed. Reilly talked about it. It's siloed by department. It's siloed by role within the newsroom. So there's got to be a level of data democracy across your organization. But one of the ones is like that all users are equal, that you see this user number. And if you have an e-edition, you know that is a small number driving a disproportionate amount of engagement. But then when you're looking at acquiring audience for purchasing on your site, the person you acquire from an Instagram story link to the one that got an email sent from their aunt are very different people. So that's where you can start to just say, oh, these are users, not these are the personas we look at. Very basic marketing stuff that I see a lot of publishers and broadcasters not doing because they go, oh, we serve our community and give me a gender breakdown. And it's like, well, are you writing things for different genders? No. Okay. So then why are we looking at this number? So we feel informed, but we're not making business decisions.
I also think if I may interact, there are times that one of our enterprise journalists at ENP will ask me for a number. You push that out to your database of 38,000 emails and only, 2,000 read the story or went into it. I mean, why? And I said, wait a second, they saw the headline. They saw we were on top of that story. It built our brand. It built our community, our trust within the community. It showed we were on top of a topic. And I keep explaining our audience is wide. I got ad people. I've got Pulitzer Prize winner, snarky people teaching at colleges. I've got people that are nerds. They're not always going to read it, but they know you're on it. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we overthink these numbers to the point of just forgetting that as long as our audience has trust in us and knows we have value to the community, we're doing good. Reilly, you're nodding your head on that one. You seem to be in step with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's kind of get back to my food pyramid analogy. Like it's why it's important you're hitting all of those elements, so that your community sees that you're there, you're alive, you're engaged, you're doing stories even if they're not of interest to them. I think people take comfort in knowing, hey, that my local news publisher is going to be looking into fraud and abuse and covering the budget council meeting, even if I'm not going to read it, somebody's paying attention, right?
It's part of that overall brand that we present to our community that creates, if I may use the term I've heard 5 times here, value. And once you create the value, the subs come and the donations come. All right, I got some questions that we want to race through real quick before we give Bridget the final call to action, right? The CTA, Bridget, get ready for it. So first of all, we've got one here we haven't addressed for Claire. And I want to bring this to Kyle. Kyle, since the G4 world, have you seen numbers change massively? She's saying since publishers lower website traffic, did you see G4 change everything? Did it just make analytics even more wonky and hard to understand, or what?
Um, the Google is one of many industry standard pieces there. Without going into the history of it, I think a lot of folks on this call would understand you're using different measuring tools here. So if your newsroom is struggling, that they have Parsley, Chartbeat, or the data insights tool from BLOX, and they're running their own GA, and they have a subscription service that's running GA. Like, these are all measuring different things. So how the technology appears, privacy policies and legislation that we've seen take place, these are all factors as well. On top of what Claire mentions is, um, you know, just a good old SWOT analysis of, hey, you get X number of traffic from Google. If Google makes a policy change around AI, servicing AI content, that user experience has changed, that's going to impact your numbers. We saw that with Facebook around elections. Like, there are these things that, is it a measurement issue? Is it, which might be tied to policy, or is it a consumer behavior change? So that's really where just looking at the numbers and having a dashboard, having an alert only gets you so far, but you have to really start to dig into why are these things happening. And tools like BLOX and others have allows you to really kind of look at that persona. And that's what I really like about Bridget's slide that she had earlier, is you can kind of look at those individuals that are more loyal, that are interacting with your site. So you've captured them and you're less reliant on them Googling, your newspaper name to get to your site.
All right, so Bridget, we're going to bring it to you now. I'm interested. Let's say I want this tool. What do I do? Tell us about BLOX NXT. What are my next steps? And of course, we have a white paper that you guys worked really, really hard on that everybody's going to get a link to later today. If you registered, you'll get a link to download this puppy and get a lot more meat on the bone for what we discussed today. So bring it home. Give us the call to action.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say check out the white paper. It's free. If you visit our website, bloxdigital.com, there's a lot more information about BLOX Next and what it can do for you, the different products that we have all built together under the hood. You can get more information, or you can even sign up for a demo. So we would love to show you. I'll say that I'm not in sales, I'm in product management, but I would love to talk with you more about it. So visit our website, download the white paper, and let us know how we can help.
Thank you, Reilly Kneedler. I guess you're the chief of staff, right? You're for all of an amazing company, Wick Communications. Kyle Rickhoff, we called you the chief nerd, but you're the CEO of Align Simple. And Bridget Sibthorp-Moecker, I got it right that time, right?
Yeah.
You are the head of audience for BLOX Digital, and also a huge supporter of ENP. Again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. More information, bloxdigital.com. Look out for the email coming your way in a few hours. Everyone, thanks for your valuable time.
Thank you.